Welcome to Rethinking Citizens and Democracy with Tendai Murisa and Belinda Tora. Now we are reviewing Chapter 2, which is Citizens' Mobilization Beyond Trade Unionism. Tendai, welcome once again.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about what you mean by that. In Chapter 2, you're talking about citizens' mobilization beyond trade unionism. What does that concept mean?
I think, and this is particular to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has had two very important post-colonial phenomena. One of them being the mobilization, especially of the working class around trade unions. And trade unions playing a very pivotal role in terms of invigorating democracy through especially the 1990s, that decade, where we see trade unions breaking away from sort of this informal consensus with the ruling party, but actually leading to a process where we actually see them playing a role in the formation of an opposition party. And playing a very crucial role also in the criticism of the dominant economic framework that was there at the time, because trade unions were the first ones to come out and criticize SAP, etc., but also then leading to the formation of the MDC. And also leading the agenda for a new constitution. So trade unions played a pivotal role in sort of occupying a space that had been left vacant by sort of the demobilization of political parties, especially after the 1987 Unity Accord, where the two major political parties had merged to be one. So there was that vacuum, and trade unions played that role. But now there's a new phenomena post-2000. It's the growing informalization of the economy. You know that during SAP, there's a lot of retrenchments that happen, companies close down, etc. But trade unions thrive on formally employed workers who then join trade unions. So they join trade unions at the level of their workplace, but also they join the umbrella unions, which then begin to influence national processes. So the question I'm posing is to say, given the challenges of an informal economy without high levels of unionization, what then are the new sites of mobilization, speaking truth to power, protesting, and beginning to challenge even the policy frameworks that are sort of being implemented by government? Can we just imagine that things have continued as normal, or that there are actually challenges that they face? And we see it. The levels of mobilization, the levels of activity by trade unions, is sort of compared to the 1990s, have declined. Yeah.
What role do you see trade unions playing today? Like, are they still playing a similar role? Is it significant enough? What's happening?
I think they still do that. One thing that they have is there is an architecture. There is a way of organization that exists. Many of them still exist, although the numbers have declined. So they can still play that nucleus role in terms of mobilization. They can still connect with others. But their challenge is to think purely from a trade union perspective would not be adequate to deal with the issues. So, for instance, even in the 1990s, there was always a disconnect with the rural labor. They did not mobilize sufficiently or connect or align their interests with the interests of rural labor. It becomes much more sort of clearer to us when now we come to the post-2000 area, where we don't see them having a strong connection with informal sector. So now trade unions, their challenge is to rethink and reimagine their role and to begin to say, how do they create connections with places where Zimbabweans are? Because Zimbabweans, the majority of them are in the informal sector, and they're definitely not unionized with us. These are small businesses, but there are some associations of the informal sector that some of them actually started off as offshoots of trade unions, but they've gone on to become big movements on their own. We do not yet see the sort of the collaboration amongst those to begin to say there's one united center of power. And another challenge for trade unions is also their clear alignment or linkage with political parties. So that also compromises, because I could be in a trade union, but it does not necessarily mean that I agree with the political party that they have chosen, whether it's ZANU-PF or it's CCC. Others may just want to say, I want the trade union to represent my labor interests. When it comes to my political interests, I have the right to choose. So I think that has been a compromise. It's a bit, it's not unusual. We saw that in Zambia, but that compromises the objectivity and also capacity to mobilize broadly beyond sectional interests.
So you talked about other associations. Which other associations do you see in Zimbabwe, and what are they involved in?
So I think the scope now, especially when we're talking about rethinking sites of confrontation of power, For some of us who studied the land and agrarian reforms in the early 2000s, we identified an underground social movement that was comprised of chiefs, war veterans, and the landless. And we were surprised that that social movement was never connected to urban issues or was never seen as an autonomous entity that was capable of entering into alliances. So that's one site of sort of mobilization that we've missed out on. And we've also missed out on a site of mobilization around the informal sector itself, the vendors, the cross-border traders, etc., around their issues. And also there's been a sprouting of residents' associations. All these are sites of mobilization, sites of where we can rethink the struggle of democratization and find ways of intensifying it, starting from the local to the national.
Okay. Thank you so much for that overview tonight.
Sure. Thank you for having me.